Audrey Marie Healy was born in Anniston, Alabama on June 4th, 1933. She lived a normal life and even met a man named Frank Healy, of which she would marry on May 8th, 1951. The two would also end up having two children together named Mike and Carol. They lived a comfortable life with a dual-income family. Frank had a well-paying job, and Audrey worked as a secretary. What Frank didn't know was Audrey would end up having relations with her boss in exchange for money. It is believed that she did this despite having a decent income, because she had a large spending habit which caused constant fighting in their marriage. Through all of their troubles, the couple still made it work though. One night in 1975 after dinner, Frank and the son Mike fell ill. Despite his illness, Mike had a seminar to attend in a different city. After spending a few days away, his illness disappeared. Frank, however, continued to get worse. One day in May 1975, Frank had to leave work early because of his nausea. When he returned home, he found Aubrey in bed with her boss. He turned to his son and then a minister for advice on how to handle the impasse in his marriage. While fighting heartbreak and a flu-like illness, Frank went to the hospital. A doctor then diagnosed him with hepatitis, and on the morning of May 25, 1975, Frank passed away. His autopsy showed swelling of the kidneys and lungs, bilateral pneumonia, and inflammation of the stomach. These symptoms closely resembled those of hepatitis, so that was the declared official cause. Frank also had an insurance policy that his wife collected. It was for $31,140, equivalent to about $191,154 in 2026. 3 years later, Audrey took out a $50,000 life insurance policy on her daughter Carol. After only a few months, Carol began experiencing the same symptoms as her late father. She spent months in and out of the hospital, but all the tests that were ran came back negative. Audrey then gave her daughter an injection that she claimed would cure her illness. The truth was the exact opposite. Carol began experiencing numbness in her arms and legs as the sickness persisted. Doctors would then determine that it was all in her head. They believed that she was making herself sick, so they admitted her to the hospital to begin psychiatric treatment. While there, Audrey would continue to give Carol more injections and warned her not to tell anyone. Soon the doctors determined that Carol was suffering from vitamin deficiency and heavy metal poisoning. Audrey began to panic and signed Carol out of the hospital and into another one. A physician then noticed lines on Audrey's fingernails that indicated that she has been exposed to some type of poison. With the nails and her daughter's illness being suspicious, law enforcement decided to test strands of Audrey's hair. The results came back with 100 times the normal levels of arsenic. They then determined that Carol had been exposed to increasingly high levels of arsenic for a period of time ranging from 4 to 8 months. After this revelation, they turned to Frank for another autopsy. This proved what they were suspicious of. Frank had critical levels of arsenic in his body. On October 9, 1975, Audrey was arrested for attempting unaliving. She was later released on bail and rented a motel room. She then went missing, and there was a letter found suggesting she had been kidnapped. Despite this, she was listed as a fugitive on the run. Audrey's aunt's house was later broken into, and clothes and a car were stolen. There was also a note found saying, "Do not call the police. We will burn you out if you do. We found what we wanted, and we will not bother you again." 2 months later, police pressed charges on Audrey for the unaliving of her husband. Despite a FBI manhunt, she was able to avoid arrest for more than 3 years. During this time, she moved to Texas and used the alias Robbie Hannon. She then met a man named John Homan. The two would get married on May 29, 1981, and moved to New Hampshire. After a year of marriage, she would tell her husband that she had to leave and attend to a family matter. After leaving, she called her husband to give him some bad news. Using a new alias called Terry Martin, she informed him that his wife, her twin sister, had passed away. John reasonably wanted to go see his wife one last time before the burial until Terry informed him that it was too late as her body was donated to science. Hearing this news, John began to show interest in meeting Terry. She agreed, saying they needed to put Robbie's death behind them. She then began losing weight and changing her hair color before returning to John. Once there, John began to talk about this new woman in his life to his coworkers. They began to get suspicious, citing their resemblance to his late wife. They then brought their suspicions to the state police, who began an investigation. Upon their investigation, they realized that the university that his wife's body was donated to was non-existent. The same was true for the church that wrote her eulogy. After this revelation, the police brought Terry in for questioning. It wasn't long before she told them her real name, and they found the serious charges she was facing. She was then extradited back to Alabama to stand trial. On June 19th, 1983, she was sentenced to life in prison for the unaliving of her husband and 20 years for the attempted unaliving of her daughter. While in prison, she was a model inmate and was rewarded for it. She began receiving day passes to leave the prison and always returned on time. Then, she was given a 3-day pass. While out, she got a motel room with her husband John. At some point, John left the motel, and when he returned, he found a note from Audrey telling him that she was running. John alerted police, and another manhunt began for her. They searched for 4 days until a local woman called police about a scary woman sitting on her back porch. When police and paramedics showed up, Audrey was conscious, but soon lost that consciousness. She had dirt all over her face and body. They concluded that she had been running through the woods for 4 days in close to freezing temperatures. Hours later, she passed away, suffering from a heart attack. The official cause was determined to be hypothermia.